Define denier. Somebody recently accused me of being a COVID denier. And my feelings weren't hurt necessarily, but it was more confusion because the word denier, at least to me, has definitive connotations. Obviously, in the dictionary, it's you sort of refuse to admit something exists, and that is demonstrably untrue here. And then in the political arena, loosely put, you have Holocaust deniers. That was the first time I ever heard denier. That was always meant to be somebody who either denied that the Holocaust happened at all, or to varying degrees, they were questioning the severity of it. This is not a video about that, by the way. But the term denier, at least to me, had some fairly consistent definitions, and there weren't that many of them. And then I started hearing climate denier. And sort of that's a shorthand. It's like, well, okay, I guess you're not denying that there is a climate, but that meant you were denying to some degree the concepts of global warming or climate change. And now, like a lot of our words, the word denier has been, sort of mutated into this thing. And it is really weaponizing the language in a way that is very frightening. Because you hear this a lot, so-and-so's a Nazi and so-and-so's a dictator and this, that, and the other thing. And as much as, I don't like this guy or that guy, I would argue that it's ultimately counterproductive to exaggerate the problem that you have with that person or that thing. And actually, you could probably apply that to big issues as well. But the term denier has been turned into this, almost like Esperanto for, somebody I disagree with. It mostly happens on the left. I see the right doing it too sometimes. And it's understandable because, frankly, it works. You call somebody a blank denier, that tends to shut up the conversation, or at least take it to a place where you're arguing feelings over facts real quick. But to call somebody a COVID denier, this seems to me to be that you either thought it was just the flu or you think it's not true. And there are people like that. And interestingly, there's two levels of it's just the flu, that you think it's the exact same level of danger and behaves the exact same way as the flu. And I don't think that there's a lot of those people out there. So just the flu became denier. If you question the cycles and the PCR tests and you want to talk about how helpful or unhelpful it is that these cycles are often ramped up, multiple dozens and dozens of times, where they're they're amplifying and giving positives for things that aren't positive, and if you want to talk about these things, you're a denier, right? It's just a shorthand for you think all this stuff is a lie, you're a conspiracy theorist, and you shut up. And again, that's unhelpful. These are legitimate concerns. And again, not an anti-vax guy. Don't do that. But I'm also not going to blindly accept something. I certainly will go with the common wisdom. I do listen to the experts, as everybody should, but there's something not okay with saying you have to blindly do this. And unless you blindly do this, then you're a denier. Again, to deny something means to pretend like it doesn't exist. I don't know many people who are COVID deniers. The mutating of the definitions of these things seems to be a trend. And when you call somebody a denier, again, it takes any sort of discussion and it moves it from the realm of factual and rational and logical, and it pushes it into a very emotional, feelings-based argument. And those always turn out wonderfully well. It is such a waste of time and energy to sort of freak out like that. It's something, right? The virus is something. It's bad. If you dare question that this is not the Black Death reincarnate in the air, then you're a denier. It is helpful to ask these questions. Why don't you understand this? It is helpful to have a discussion. It is helpful to have open, free speech, even speech that you think is dangerous. We have history that shows us why this is a bad road to go down. And those of us that can kind of see the road, right? And we can see the road because we've asked these questions that you are trying to keep us from asking. Again, I'm not saying it's some conspiracy. It's like you don't ask those questions. It's just narrative control, right? A whole lot of different reasons for it. I would never think about using those words. I wouldn't call somebody a science denier, right? Unless they were really a science denier, like science doesn't exist. Again, words mean things. And if we're going to have a productive discussion, we need to agree on what those words mean. And this brings me to a kind of a troubling point, which is it seems like a lot of people don't want to have a discussion. They think that they're right and that it doesn't require a discussion and that they should just have the controls without a discussion. It doesn't work that way. They want to silence you if you have a different opinion. They don't want to talk. It's a weird sort of hysterical approach to this. And good people have been caught up in this. And it's tough because they've been down that road. In March, here comes this thing, right? Actually, it was earlier than that. They ignored it. They spun it the other way. And then it comes March, and everybody's like, oh my God, this is the Andromeda strain. And never mind that those of us that have looked into it or had looked into it at that point were like, hey, everybody relax. It's not the Andromeda strain. That was when I got the first, again, they weren't calling it COVID deniers back then, but that's when I got my first taste of that. Talking about the IFR. And I saw the Iceland study, saw the Diamond Princess, and I saw good news. And you should have seen good news too. And if you did, bravo. And if you have seen the good news since, then you should go back and look at those two things, right? Especially the Diamond Princess. It's way the easiest and honestly one of the best examples of what has gone wrong here. And this is like, I'm sorry, but Team Lockdown, are the ones that are denying the Diamond Princess. Can we just say that? When you don't cover something, when you don't talk about it, when you memory hole it, that is closer to denial than what you throw around, frankly. The Diamond Princess was a sealed floating death tube full of the absolute at-riskest demographic. And they were together on one of the known places on Earth where bacterial and viral outbreaks occur often, right? Cruise ship. And not only that, on the Diamond Princess, for the first 10 days or so, they didn't really use quarantine protocols. I mean, they didn't get off the boat, but they enjoyed the boat. They went ahead and lived their cruise life as they lived their cruise life before they went to the buffet. They played canasta. They milled about. They did the limbo. And a lot of people got sick on that boat. You know how many people got sick on that boat? Well, got sick. You know how many people got tested positive for the virus? 20% of the people on that boat. There were like 750 plus on that boat. These were old people for the most part. These were cruise people. I mean, no offense to cruise people, but imagine cruise people in your head. These were these people, right? It was a worst case scenario of worst case demographic, and they didn't obey the rules, and they did everything wrong. And they still only got 20% infected. Positive. Again, these weren't sick. And the media chose to not cover that. They covered it at first, and they sort of tried to puff it up and make it scary, but they moved on to stuff that was even scarier because New York was busy creating a haunted house for them to film. But we have denied the Diamond Princess. Denial. Diamond Princess denier. But anyway, this whole dictionary editing is got to go. It is unhelpful. It is dishonest. It's creepy. The people that think that they can change these terms and throw these terms about also feel like that they can change the definition at whim. make up a new one. And this is like a obfuscation tag. I don't know if this is in the art of war, but the language, again, this is weaponization of the language. This is changing it in not good ways, right? The language is a shared trust here, guys, and this is breaking that trust. So, coming from your favorite COVID denier, yay.